You're listening to the Simple Farmhouse Live podcast, episode 56. Today I have a very special guest, my friend Vanessa from Crafty Gemini. She is a blogger, YouTuber, homesteader. She is a sewer that I admire so much. Recently I was watching her Instagram stories and watching her milk a cow so fast, and I was completely sold, which if you do not yet know, we have a brand new member of the homestead. Her name is Bessie. Now, she is only a 4-month-old heifer, so we're a long way off from milking, but I right away thought about how I wanted to bring Vanessa on the podcast, talk about her experience with milking, with homesteading, and then, of course, we're going to go off on so many other tangents because we have about 1 million interests in common. She loves to sew. She teaches people how to sew and is just a wealth of knowledge and information. You can find her on her blog, craftygemini.com. She's on YouTube as the Crafty Gemini, Instagram as Crafty Gemini. So make sure to go and follow her to be inspired. And let's dive into our conversation. My name is Lisa, mom of 6 and creator of the blog and YouTube channel Farmhouse on Boone. Join me as I share with you my love for creating a handmade home from scratch cooking and a little mom and entrepreneur life along the way. So hey, Vanessa.
Hi, Lisa.
I was scrolling through on your blog yesterday and on your Instagram and your YouTube just because, I already follow you, but just like seeing what you're up to lately. And I'm like, we have about 1 million things in common.
I know. I was listening to your stuff today. I told you on 1.5x. My husband walked in the kitchen, was like, what is this lady
that lady
talking?
can talk.
That's right. I was like, I like it like that. Fast. Yeah, it was hilarious.
That's hilarious. But yeah, I wanted to have you on, well, for a lot of reasons, but one is I know that you are milking and I'm brand new to milking. I just got a goat about a month ago, and then now we have a 4-month-old Guernsey. So it'll be a long time before we're milking her, obviously. But I'm in that, trying to learn what's going on.
Yeah.
And so, I was thinking, I'll chat with Vanessa about that, and then about 1 million other things.
Yep. We had goats once upon a time, girl.
Did you?
Girl, as soon as I got my cows, I was like, sell them all. Get rid.
Well, that's what everybody says. And so I already felt that way going into it. It was just like, I don't know, my friend had a pregnant goat. And so I was like, this will be something I can try and practice. And after I did it, and then I watched you on Instagram stories milking your cow, and it's just coming out so fast.
Oh, but I'm super fast though. It takes time to build up, but my husband still, he'll milk a cow, but I can't watch him milk because it's so half a teaspoon per squirt. I'm not trying to be here for 50 minutes. I have things to do.
Well, that seems like your personality. Maybe you're slightly more hyper than your husband.
Yeah. Oh, just a little,
just a little.
But I heard you say in your podcast that you were like, you're getting a quart of milk from the goat. And I'm like, oh, girl.
A quart.
I remember those days. Yeah, no, I got over that real quick. But, we live in Florida, so it's hot and swampy here. So with goats, there is a huge struggle for keeping them healthy as far as their parasite load. Because the swampy climate, one day the goat is jumping around, the next morning you come out and it's dead. Like, it's that bad.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So our vet, over the years, we've tried everything, because sometimes we'd buy goats, like Nubian goats or mini Nubians, to milk and all that. And if they had some parasite problems, we'd have her come out, and she's like, pulling up the paperwork, like, okay, where'd you guys buy these goats? What did they give them? And when we pull up the thing, to see how they dewormed them as kids, she's like, this is not good. They shouldn't give the strongest dewormer, because now nothing else will, they build up a resistance to it.
Yes.
So she's like, I have nothing else. So one time we had a goat, and she was, on her deathbed. Okay. And to save her, I literally met some lady in a Trader Joe's parking lot so she can hand me some off the market stuff that was literally called Prohibit. That was the name.
That's how far you had to go.
Yeah.
To
keep her alive. I mean, we have never spent so much money on vet bills or any animals as we did on those goats just to keep them alive. And at that point, it's like, I've pumped this goat full of so much stuff just to keep it alive. I don't want to drink that milk. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
no, it ain't going to happen. No.
And so you found that the cows were a lot easier to keep.
Oh my Dexter's the easiest keeper known to man, girl.
I know they don't they don't escape like goats do.
Nope. She gets fat on air and water. And grass, I mean, like air and grass.
Yeah.
And she's super chubby. She doesn't have a halter on her. I don't tie her up. I don't
even
do
the
anything.
milker, you don't tie her up?
Girl, no. As soon as she sees me coming, she goes and stands in position, just like, here's my bowl, fill it with some feed, and I'm ready to milk. Girl, it is you don't understand. I have a YouTube video called How to Milk a Cow by Hand. It's like on my channel.
I actually saw that.
Yeah, so that's my Dexter, Applejacks, the black cow, the little black cow. And we milk her, and oh my God, I wouldn't train that cow for nothing in the world. I don't care how much money somebody tries to give me. I would never get rid of that cow. Ever.
She gives you how many gallons a day?
So that Dexter, okay, so we bred her when she was 5, which is not recommended, but she took fine and everything. She actually ended up having a stillborn. There was something wrong with the placenta. So the vet was like, well, if you breed her again, we'll check and see if it's something that's like recurring to her, or it was just something that went off in this pregnancy, So then that was her first one, and she had a stillborn, and I had to jump right into milking her because she had no calf. So because of that, we got to really see like what the peak production would be for her. And coming up on 3 months after, like post delivery or whatever, she was giving me 2 gallons a day, yo. That's a lot.
Wow.
For a Dexter?
I don't know much about my breeds, honestly.
Okay, so the Dexters, because they're smaller, they're like a half and half. Some people get them because they're good homestead cows. They eat less. You can have them on less land, right? Because they're not as big as some of the bigger cows that need way more food. And they're going to give you smaller amounts of milk also, because they're kind of more like it's almost like a hybrid between a beef cow and a dairy cow. So that's why.
That's right. I was reading about that, actually.
So a lot of homesteaders like the Dexters because if you raise steers for meat, and then you keep the mamas for milk, they're like a dual purpose cow. Mm-hmm. And that's why she looks super chubby. So next to the Jersey, people are like, that cow is dying. And I'm like, no, actually, she's just a Jersey. That's what they look like on the back, super slim. Super slim. They put everything into milk. At peak production, 2, and then she tapers off to anywhere between, she'll go a good 4 to 6 months, like on 1.5 gallons, and then she'll start to taper off down to 1 gallon, down to 3/4, based on how much you feed, or now that she has a calf. So she had an actual born calf, a bull calf, this past January. The Jersey had her calf 3 weeks before the Dexter had hers. So I have 2 mamas and 2 babies.
Okay.
And so now that the babies are like 6 months old,
Oh, I was going to ask if they still nurse.
Yes, they still do. I don't take the babies from the mamas. I just can't do it. But
I find that it is really hard. Do you separate them at night?
Now we do. We didn't. I leave them like a good 3-4 months even with them 24/7 because they make so much that even sharing with the calf, I'm still getting 1.5 gallons or 1 gallon from the Dexter, and straight up 2.5 gallons from the Jersey, even with the calf on 24/7.
I didn't realize that.
I cannot hand milk 5 gallons by hand. No way. It ain't going to happen.
Oh, that's plenty. Your family doesn't need.
Nope.
Do you sell some or
no.
How do you?
No, we barter with some friends and neighbors and other like homesteader families, that don't have a cow, but they have other stuff. We'll swap with them. But no, I don't sell. And in Florida, you can sell, but not for human consumption,
Oh, that's right. I knew that about Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't,
Yeah. So you clearly must have some excess milk. I've heard about letting it clabber and giving it to pigs. Is that something you guys do? Or?
Yeah. So we don't currently have pigs. I still have pork in the freezer. So I try not to have like pigs all the time. So like every couple years or so, we'll raise 1 or 2, and then fill the freezer, and then that's it. Give it a rest a little, because feeding pigs, especially if you have 2 at a time like we do, non-GMO organic feed, baby, will cost you $400 to $500 a month, easy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's hard to find organic feed for us, even like supplementing them with scraps from the kitchen and stuff. It's a lot, and they eat, and they don't ever stop. So
you just have them whenever you're needing some meat.
Yep, when I'm running low. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because a hog really, I mean, you can have it butchered at any age. You know what I mean? Like even like
Yeah.
4 or 5 months is still going to be a chunk of meat, you know?
So do you do butter and yogurt and kefir or cheese?
I do, let me see. I do butter, I do ice cream. Separate the cream and use that stuff. We've done yogurt. I still haven't found a really good culture to use that my kids like the texture of.
Okay.
So I'm still working on that. But I haven't tried kefir either. I know you're really big into that. And I need to try that. I haven't tried it though. Because I
Well, I
heard,
could send you some grains.
oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'll send you some.
Oh, that would
Send
be
me your
awesome.
address and I'll
Okay.
send you some because I bought grains like 9 years ago and then, they reproduce, they make
Yep.
more. I've been making milk kefir that long. Now, water kefir I
Wow.
restart
Yeah.
regularly, but milk kefir, yeah, it's on the rotation. So have you tried cheese? I've never
Oh
tried
yeah,
it, but
yes. So
okay.
I don't have like like if you're making some of the hard cheeses, you need to have like molds and these presses and all this stuff. I don't
Mm-hmm.
do all that. We do like the quick queso blanco, which is like just like a crumbly cheese that you can just sprinkle on anything, like it's a quick thing with just
Mm-hmm.
vinegar and the milk. I make a lot of mozzarella. That I do.
Okay. Because that
And
doesn't have to doesn't have to age and harden like
no
the
at all.
cheddar, yeah.
There's quick recipes like 30-minute mozzarellas and stuff with citric acid, and that's mostly what we make. Because I mean, we eat it just like that from the fridge. If I store it in a jar with some salted water, we just take it out of there and slice it up, or put it on pizza, lasagna, whatever it is that we're
Oh,
making.
yeah.
It's so good. And it's fun because even if you go over a little bit, you have to kind of work the recipe out when you're using raw milk, because sometimes you need like less of the rennet than some recipes call for. So sometimes, or you'll like stir it too much and the cheese will just be too tough to eat. Like it's kind of rubbery. But when it gets like that, it's like the perfect learning experience. And two, it's perfect for melting on top of stuff because it melts just to be like gooey, stretchy, without completely falling apart. You know what I mean? It's like the perfect thing, so you can still salvage it.
Right, yeah. Like you can't really mess it up.
Exactly.
It's kind of like bread. If you mess it up, you just make croutons or French toast. There's no people are like, I wasted so much. I'm like, why?
No, it's still
You
edible.
don't waste it. You just use it.
Repurpose it.
You repurpose it.
Yeah.
So I totally got ahead of myself. I'm going to be introducing you in my intro.
Okay.
But I still want you to tell me about you and your business. I mean, I know all about it, but not everyone does. So I saw your sewing course. That's new, right?
So I have a lot of different sewing courses because I teach from sewing clothes to quilting to like little quickie gift project bag type of stuff. So I just teach all the things. So I started on my YouTube channel. It's called the Crafty Gemini. And I started off mostly as a quilter. And in the past several years, a lot of the people that follow me as quilters are kind of like, okay, we're over the quilts. What else can we make? So I started doing more like handbags. I'm really on YouTube. A lot of people really like these quickie, like bag, pouch, zippered coin purse. Like
like I saw you did like a drawstring, something or another.
All that stuff. Them little drawstring bags, the little cinch up mats that people use for their makeup. I mean, quick gifts, that people can crank out or crank through the fabric in their stash and make stuff quick. Because for quilters, I know you don't quilt, but you probably know that it takes forever and a day to make a quilt.
That's the only reason I don't quilt. I want to quilt so bad.
There is hope for you because I'm very hyper and fast. I've not made a quilt that's taken me really longer than a day unless it was for a company that gave me a pattern I had to follow. Anything that I design, all my quilts, I can make it from start to finish in one day. I don't have patience, girl. I can't be.
So do you have a video you can refer us to that shows that technique?
Yep. I have a ton of different, we call them quilt-alongs on my YouTube channel. They're free quilt-alongs, and I show you step by step from picking your fabrics to cutting out the pieces, sewing it all up, all that.
All in it, some of them in a day?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
because I can get behind that.
So listen, you can because you already know how to sew, right? For a beginner, like say they were just starting to quilt, they probably can't finish it in a day. You know what I'm saying? Right. But like if you know how to sew straight and you can work a rotary cutter. I know you don't use a rotary cutter, Lisa, but
I need to, I guess. I can be convinced very easily.
Well, that's the thing with quilters. I think in the 70s when they introduced these rotary cutters, mostly quilters got on it because quilting, right? The typical patchwork pieces are so precise. They need the fabric to be cut precisely so that then you can also sew them together precisely, so you end up with the correct size block that you intended to, right?
Okay.
So it's not like one piece. Some of these blocks can have upwards of 40 pieces. So if you're even a 16th of an inch off on 40 different pieces, you can imagine how it compounds itself as you piece all the little chunks together. That block is not going to be nowhere near the size it's supposed to be. So quilters tend to be precision perfectionists because of that. There's so much that's required at every step in order for the final result to be on point.
Okay, that makes sense. And so if I'm going to quilt, I'm going to have to get the rotary cutter.
Wait, because you know when you cut with the scissors, like you can only get a clean cut the length of the blade of the shears. You know what I mean? Like right when you have to reopen it and go again to head more forward on that line, it's not going to be straight. So for quilting, that's not a great.
I've just never done anything so precise as quilting.
I'll share with you some links for my easy ones, because you're just cutting rectangles and then you sew them together. You get it? If you do something like that, then you like get the whole gist of it and then be like, okay, I want to keep it simple like this, or I want to, expand my techniques and skills a little bit more.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that, because I want to try to make a quilt.
Yeah, they're super fun and easy. But I was saying that some of those quilts take months and months, and people still want to sew and have more of that instant gratification. So the smaller projects that I teach tend to go over very nicely with people, because it's like, oh, I can make this in 15 minutes. Yeah, let me make one real quick and take a break from this quilt,
Yeah, right. Yes. And use like fat quarters or whatever scraps you have
even
around.
Scraps, fat quarters for sure. I have all that kind of stuff on my YouTube channel. So then from there, because as you know, we can't really be uploading 3-hour-long content on YouTube. I mean, we can, right? But who's really going to sit there and watch it? And it's a lot of work, even to put together a 5 or 10-minute tutorial. So what we started doing was offering these paid for courses and clubs where it was like 8 more involved in complex projects, say handbags or wallets, or like sewing supply organizers and that kind of stuff. And so those are some of the paid for sewing courses that I offer on my website.
And then patterns as well.
Yes, patterns. I teach some garment sewing patterns, some patterns that I designed, and some patterns that I love to use by this French-Canadian company called Jali. It's a mom and daughter duo, and their patterns, girl, they include 27 or 28 sizes in one pattern. It's craziness.
Oh, cool.
So then
That's
teach
something
a class.
I've been wanting to do forever and never
you would
did it.
love it. And with your kids, like if you bought something for the girls, you can make it for your girls and for you. You just pick your
fun.
size.
I've never done that before.
Yeah, you just pick your size. As you probably know, sewing patterns, there's some terminology that sometimes beginners don't get. And so it leaves them kind of stumped, and you don't want to spend good money on fabric and then get halfway through a pattern and you're not having successful results. So my teaching style lends itself nicely to people who need a little bit more hand holding, right? They need somebody there telling them every step of the way, this is how you do it, this is how you do it. And then they do it and they feel amazing, instead of leaving it up to them to decipher the terminology or what these symbols mean.
Right. Yes. Definitely some confusing symbols.
Yeah.
In words, like what's bias tape? What's a base stitch?
Yeah. Once you learn, it's like nothing. It's like anything else, But at first it's like, whoa, I just wanted to make a pencil skirt. Like, what is all this?
Yeah. No, yeah. I understand that for sure. So I saw on your website that you just want to learn everything. That's your life motto.
That's my thing. I'm just obsessed with learning as much as I can about as much as I can.
Yeah. It shows. You do so many different things.
I feel like it's like a childhood trauma leftover or something. I feel like when I was a kid, it was always like learning new skills. It was kind of like survival mode, when you're by yourself with little kids. My mom used to work 15, 16-hour shifts. So we were home alone. And so we'd had to learn to just navigate through life. I mean, we'd have men come knocking on our front door saying they were there to fix the AC, when we knew there was nobody scheduled to fix the AC, So it was like, what do we do? What do we say? Where do we go? Where do we hide? So my whole childhood was like a game, right? And so I felt like I need to learn new things. I need to learn how to do all the things so that if I'm ever on a stranded island or somebody ever kidnaps me, I can get out of it. I'll survive. I can do that. You know what I mean? Like it was always a game. Then when I got to high school, it was like, if I'm ever on that show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I need to know all the answers. Like it was just this obsession of I used to go to the thrift store when I was a kid. My mom would give us like a quarter each. And, they sell board games, but none of them are complete. So I would dig through the board games and only pick out the ones that had trivia booklets so that I can memorize all the trivia questions and answers. Like that's what I did as a kid. Like I was obsessed. As much knowledge as I could, give it to me.
Yeah. I need to be on your team at a trivia night because I'm the worst. I like the hands-on type skills. Like I
Yeah.
love learning sewing and all of,
Yeah.
gardening and all of this stuff, but trivia is where I don't.
It's part of that. I think it's part of that perfectionist nature too, where like you don't want to make mistakes. So I felt like I need to know all the things because if I get into one scenario, if I didn't learn that one thing, now I'm stuck. I don't want to mess up. I want to know how to do it's weird.
Right. Yeah. And so you share a wide variety of things on your YouTube channel. I was watching your potatoes.
Oh, yes.
You're in zone 8B,
That's
but
correct.
I still think I can learn a lot from your video because this year we just planted probably, I don't know what the square footage would be, but not a huge garden, more like a fun, we're growing food for the summer type of garden. But do you find yourself trying to grow enough potatoes to last you for the year? Are you a food storage type of person?
I am and I'm not, right? So for me, the first season that I'm trying something new, it's more like experimental and learning. Until then I have it down pat, then I'll know, okay, I know that I'm pretty much guaranteed to get these types of potatoes. For me, we just store them in the pantry and use them as we need them, right? So like here in Florida, we don't have a basement, we don't have no cellar, it's not cold enough for any of that. So it's like, I tried a different technique this year, which is the Ruth Stout. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, well, only from you. But...
Oh, okay. So it's like a no dig, no till method. You literally just throw down hay and we just gather up the spent hay that our cows leave behind. So we didn't have to really buy new hay,
Okay.
So I just put like a thick layer of it, maybe 6 to 8 inches. And then I just chopped my potatoes in chunks and literally just threw it on top of the hay and covered them babies with more hay and was like, all right, we'll see what we get.
I heard somebody else talking about this. I didn't remember the name of it, but she was talking about the same thing.
It was the easiest thing I've ever planted ever in my entire life. Okay.
And it worked?
It did. So we had a couple issues that I know how to fix now. I didn't water it early enough because maybe 4 years ago, I tried growing potatoes in the ground. And girl, I was so excited. I was like, they're growing. Let me keep watering them. I killed them things.
Do they rot? Because I had some rot.
They turn completely yellow, like the green leaves and stuff just get super yellow because they're so overwatered that the water, plus we have rainy season here in the summer, so it just rinses all the nutrients away and they're too wet. They don't like to be wet like that. So I think at least for our soil. So we live about 2 miles from a river. So our property backs up to wetlands. So like my back acre is in wetlands. Okay. So my soil already is not like the typical sandy soil that most of Florida has. So it's weird to garden in this specific area because when you read about Florida gardening, it doesn't really apply to me in the sense of the soil amendments and you need to hold moisture. I'm like, no, I need drainage like where I am.
Oh, okay.
So because when I started, I was reading all this, sand, it doesn't
Florida
hold
stuff.
Yeah. I'm like, no, our soil is not like that. So I think adding that chunky layer of hay underneath the potatoes really helped kind of add a little bit more height to it, so that the water could drain down. But then I was so scared of over watering them that I didn't water at all. So now I think I know where the happy medium is for next year. So what happened was when I harvested them, it was starting to get hot. I think it was like end of May or something, May, April. I can't remember. But we put the potatoes in end of January here. Like we put them in the ground end of January. And so it was like maybe April or May when I harvested them. And I found a lot of little ones, which you still will find little ones because it's going to be constantly growing other ones. But I feel like even the bigger ones weren't as big as they could have been if I would have watered earlier on.
Yeah, I'm looking at your harvesting video here.
Yeah,
that is something I want to try because I have this desire to grow enough potatoes for the year or something.
Yeah.
But I grew a little bit of them this year. And I'm like, I don't really like this method. So I'm going to have to explore into that.
Try it. It's so easy. I mean, literally, you guys can just throw hay and the kids can just throw potatoes and cover them back up. That's it. It's crazy easy. I mean, some people can it. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to be canning potatoes up in here. I got like 20 some pounds, and we ate that. People are like, what are you going to do with it? And we're like, eat it. This is going to last us like a week and a half. They won't go bad. They won't go bad. We'll kill them real quick. No worries,
Yeah. Now, I know you homeschool and is your husband, does he work too or is your business like what you guys do?
Yeah. So we retired him from his 9 to 5.
That's what I figured.
Yeah. 5 years, 5.5 years ago now. Hmm.
Wow. You're way ahead of me on this journey. So you're probably home and cooking all your meals.
Yep.
So yeah, I know how fast you go through food with
Ex-
whenever you're home three
exact.
times a day. Yeah.
Exactly. And with these growing kids, girl, my kids are like 99 percentile for everything. They're not little kids. So
What
my
ages are your kids?
my kids now are 10 and 8. At the end of the
Okay.
summer, they'll be 11 and 9. But like my 8-year-old daughter wears a woman size 8 shoe. Okay.
Oh,
She eats all of us under the table. I'm like, where are
right.
you hiding all this food? She's like, I'm a growing child. I'm
So
like,
you're
girl,
cooking constantly.
well, they cook. So it's to the
Okay.
point where it's like, no, baby, you got to do your own thing. Cause no.
Yeah, like my kids do too. And I know you and I share a similar philosophy on homeschool, but I count that. Unlike this
Oh, of
afternoon,
course.
they both were like, it was raining, and one of them was like, "Can I make soup?" And I'm like, "Have at it." So
Yep.
she cut up all this random stuff and threw it in the broth. And my other daughter made dessert pizza.
I love it.
And
I
they
love it.
destroy the kitchen,
That's
but they
awesome.
follow the recipe and they
Exactly.
experiment.
Yep. That's how you
If
have to do it. And I mean, and that's why we kind of unschool. So a lot of
uh-huh.
people will ask me, like, what homeschool program do you follow? It's
I
like,
get asked that all the time
yeah,
too.
I know. I'm like, none.
Yeah, I know.
None. I mean, my kids have been, they cook. They both learned how to sew on their own sewing machines at age 3. And it's
Wow.
just, I feel like because I was like that as a kid, I was not the oldest, but I was the middle child, and I wanted to have my hands in everything. I've been cooking since I was 6. When my mom would work
Mm-hmm.
15 hours, yeah, she would buy ramen noodles, but I was already a foodie. My family comes from Dominican Republic, so we did not grow up. I've never eaten like a freeze, what are those fast dinner freezer things that people buy?
TV dinners.
Yeah. Okay. No, that was not in my life. Okay.
Well, I just have to pause and say that your mom shipped you mangoes.
That's right, girl. And I was just checking on them. They're turning yellow already. They're starting to ripen up because so she lives 2 hours south of me in Florida, still same state, but near Orlando. And we grew up in Miami. And Miami, in my backyard, we had 2 huge mango trees, to the point where in high school, I would just take bags of mangoes to my teachers. And I hated mangoes. I was like, if I see one more mango, I'm going to lose it.
Wow.
Because we would eat them every single day.
Yeah.
I mean, so much. You know what I mean?
Right.
So she took a cutting from the tree that we had in Miami. Okay. Was it a cutting? No, I think she said my grandma saved the seed and she planted it and it took off. So this is the first year that she's getting actual mangoes from the tree. It's been there for like 7 or 8 years, something. You know how these fruit trees are. It takes forever.
Right.
So she sent me some. She says, I already tried it. It took us 10 days for them to ripen. So she picked them when they were starting to turn. And then she says within 10 days, they were perfect. So I'm watching mine. They're already starting
They're
to go.
about ready to be.
Yeah.
That really cracked me up.
Yep. That's hilarious. I know.
I'm,
I was like, Dominican moms is like, I'm mailing you mangoes in a flat rate priority
I'm
box.
really, yeah, that's not something I've ever done.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
So what else are you guys growing in your garden? What are your favorite things?
So this is funny you ask, because where are you with your garden right now this time of year? Like harvesting and everything's growing great, right?
Pretty much. It's really dry right now, but
Okay.
yeah.
So for us, and I'd say this all the time because when I post things online, March and April, people are like, where do you live that you're already harvesting? And I'm like, guys, Florida. And so then people that are like in Alaska or Wisconsin, they're always like, oh, I'm so jealous. My seedlings are still in the greenhouse, right? And I'm like, don't worry. It will all even out come July and August. Because in July and August, all I'm really growing are like weeds and bugs.
Yeah.
So it's like we're behind on that stuff. So for me now, like, I mean, my tomatoes look like a fruit graveyard. I mean, everything is dead, is just fried. It's been like the heat index here, like 112, with 100%
Yeah.
humidity. The bugs are everywhere. It's insane. So people are like, oh, what can you use for them? And it's like, there's no sense in fighting this late in the season,
That's just how it is.
Yeah, it's just how it is. And then you start again. So like now I'm going to get ready to listen to this, start some seeds for tomatoes, because where I am, we can grow 2 seasons of tomatoes, one in the spring and one in the fall. Isn't that wild? I love it.
Because we went on vacation to Florida last summer, and I'm trying to think of where you are, but it does freeze where you are, correct?
It does. Yes.
Okay.
I'm in the north central part of the state, just north of Gainesville, Florida.
Okay, so I went to some springs.
Where?
Trying to remember the names of them. We went to like 3 different ones, and I bet they're close to you.
Ginny, Ichituckney, Poe, Blue Springs. No,
None of those sound familiar, but it was
Silver,
definitely
huh?
in that area.
Silver Springs, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot
Okay.
around these
Well,
parts, but
there must just be a lot. I didn't
there
realize
are.
that.
Yeah, there are.
But I think I was in your area, and I was asking
Yeah,
somebody who lived nearby, and she said, it does freeze, but
it
it
does.
doesn't get.
Exactly. Yeah. So when I post pictures of like a January morning when I'm going out to milk the cow and they see us with like knitted hats and like I'm talking into the Insta story thing, and you can see my breath, and then I put the little temperature and it's like 24. People are like, "No way, in Florida." And we're like, "Yes, bro. Yes."
Yeah, you're in northern Florida, so
North
yeah.
Florida. Yeah. So I'm only an hour south of the Georgia line, smack dab,
Okay.
pretty much in the center of the state, like an hour south right there from the line of Georgia. So
Right.
it does. I mean, it'll get not for long, but like the lowest it'll get here maybe 18 degrees for a couple hours in the middle of the night. Sometimes, like for maybe 2 days out of the winter. It just depends. This year we had a really warm winter, but it gets down to like oftentimes when I am milking cows, it's 28, 30, 31,
Right. Yeah,
32,
it gets cold.
Yeah.
So, but where your mom lives, is she
It
able
doesn't.
to?
Oh,
Okay.
that's
So she
like
can just
10.
keep
Yes.
gardening
Yes.
all the time?
Yeah. Well, it depends. I mean, they can for stuff that falls in spring, fall, and winter, right? So in the summer for them and us, it's just too hot to grow anything else than really hot stuff. So like you can grow eggplant, peppers, even the basil. Sometimes the heat is too much for it.
Oh, okay.
What else? Sweet potatoes is a heat-loving crop. So I have sweet potatoes in right now. They're flowering, so they should be ready to harvest next month, hopefully. And
But
and
like,
and
how
the
about
Seminole.
greens? Are greens
Oh,
pretty
girl,
hard?
greens. Greens is a winter crop for us, girl.
I was gonna say that's not going to work in the
So,
summer for you
nope,
guys.
at all. That's something that I put in the ground in October and we harvest all the way till March, depending. We had kale this year all the way till May, which was impressive. They were already really well established water wise. There was the tomatoes were behind them, so they were shading them on the east side. So they had more shade until the sun came up into the, to the top, like around noontime. So they were kind of in a special little microclimate, I would say. But greens for us is definitely a fall and winter crop. The only greens that I grow in the summer are Jamaican callaloo, like green callaloo. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not. No.
It's like a leafy green. It's delicious and it cooks up like a spinach, but I feel like it has a better flavor than spinach. And that's something that grows in the summer in the heat. So there are different things. There's some other funky greens like Malabar spinach that people here grow to still get like the leafy green, but it's not like your kale, your brassicas and stuff. No, ma'am. No.
Yeah.
Way too hot. Yeah.
And you have all your squashes, apparently.
Well, yeah, I'm at the end right now. I saw the pumpkin vines earlier and they're just all dead. So I've harvested about 28. So we grow a variety of pumpkin here. It's a squash. We call it Seminole pumpkin, and it's like native to Florida. I think it came from the West Indies or something, but they attribute it to a lot of the Native American groups that were here in the state of Florida. So it does well in heat and humidity. The bugs don't seem to bother it, whereas your other stuff are getting tore up by like squash vine borers, and these pumpkins are intact. So it's very popular for us to grow it here, and they like the heat. Yeah.
The right size for, like, they'd be really great for all things pumpkin.
Gosh.
Like, you just cook them down and puree them. And
yep, that's how it is. That's exactly the texture. It's sweet. It's a little nutty. I made like this pumpkin pie, just like in a skillet type of thing, and chopped pecans on top the other day. So good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're the perfect size. Like you can just cut it in half, roast it, and boom, you have enough there to feed 4, 5, 6 people. They're very prolific because
they're easy to grow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, especially for us in this heat and humidity. Not everything. You gotta get stuff that's adapted to the area, to the climate. I said I got like 28 of them already. There's still some out there, like on the inside of the pumpkin patch that I haven't really dug in, to get them. And you know how many plants I planted to get all that? 3 little starts that I grew from seed.
Wow. It's funny because I was actually telling Luke at the beginning of this gardening season, after everything was taking off, that if you don't want to do much work with gardening, you're just kind of like, you just don't have a lot of time to invest, just grow pumpkin, zucchini, anything viney.
Yep.
Because it quickly crowds out the weeds. You get a huge bang for your buck, like you were saying. Like you get these massive fruits that really can stretch a meal because they're filling. They're filling in the way like a potato or something. Or like
exactly.
Yeah.
I love that, like squash, because I'm like, you can make sweet dishes, you can make
Yep.
savory dishes. They can be a side vegetable side with dinner. Like it's like the all-purpose, most amazing nutritional. Even if you're low carb, I mean, it's perfect for everything.
Yep, it goes with everything. It's easy to preserve. So if you want to grow like a huge pumpkin patch,
Yep,
it'll quickly grow. It'll crowd out all the weeds. They're really prolific, like you said. And then you could just puree it and keep it all year. So if you want to grow like one thing,
Yep,
grow your Seminole, or what'd you call
yeah,
it? Yeah,
yeah, Seminole
pumpkins down there, or up here I grow I think we pronounce it Jardale.
The Jardale, yeah. I bought
Yeah.
seeds. I saw your picture and I was like, I didn't get to plant them because, of course, these monsters took over. I had to, like, mid-season, we put in one cattle panel to just stop them from covering the rest of the garden and just start trailing them up because I'm like, they're going to take over.
See, mine kind of did. I realized that I should definitely do a separate pumpkin patch area, like till a spot away from my pretty garden.
Yes.
Because it totally did. And I have them coming out, and like they're probably 10 feet vines out of the picket fence and going.
Easily.
So now he can't even mow.
And that's the problem. Like they smothered out my strawberries, they covered all my onions, and they started creeping in between the eggplant. And I pruned them. People are like, why don't you prune them? I'm like, I already did. I cut back the entire pumpkin patch. And within 2 weeks, it covered everything again. My daughter was like, I think we need a bigger space for the pumpkin patch next year.
Right. Yeah. I think we just need to till a little spot and call it the pumpkin patch because it's just, it takes over everything. But again, if it's the only thing, if you want a no-fuss garden, just plant you a pumpkin patch.
For sure.
And you'll have
such a good bang for your buck. Yep.
It really is.
Now, this year I grew a variety called Thelma Sanders Sweet Potato Acorn Squash. It's the craziest name. But again, I'll say it again. Thelma Sanders Sweet Potato Acorn Squash.
Okay.
When I'm
looking for it on your...
This squash is bomb. Okay. It's amazing, super prolific. While the other, zucchinis and squashes are like struggling, this thing is still cranking out.
Okay.
It's so good, so cute, and you should totally try to grow it. It's a favorite this year, for sure.
Where do you get your seeds?
Those ones, actually, a local friend of mine who lives on 40 acres and is like the ultimate pioneer homesteader girl.
Oh, sweet.
She shared them with me. It's so funny because once they started growing, I was like, yo, I don't have anything like this in my stash. You must have given it to me. And she's already like, they're giving me a paragraph like, oh yeah, that's the this, the that, the this. I told you was this, that. And I'm like, thank you. Okay, now I know. And
don't you love people who will do that for you?
Oh,
I have a local friend who she researches everything. So I'm like, you just tell me.
Yep. Well, you're going to laugh because we grew another thing called Blue Hubbard squash. Do you guys grow that?
I'm looking I was actually just looking at it on your Instagram and I've seen them, but I've never grown them.
Yeah. So it's really popular up north. Down here, people don't really grow it, which I was interested because she told me it's one of her favorites too. And I had the seeds, so I planted them. That big old squash weighed 9 pounds. Okay. They supposed to be between 15 to 40 pounds. I was like, 9 is more than enough. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that one, I showed her the picture because she had told me it was one of her favorites. So I texted her a picture and I'm like, I'm going to save seeds, but I hope it didn't cross with anything else, So she's like, she tells me, it's a Maxima squash. So unless you didn't plant any other Maximas, it won't cross. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Okay.
I don't either.
So I'm like telling her, I'm like, yo, I planted like 3 different types of zucchini and the Seminole pumpkin. She's like, well, the zucchini is this kind and the Seminole pumpkin is this kind. So those seeds will be true to the Blue Hubbard. So you won't have any crossing. I'm like, thank you, girl. A wealth of information. Appreciate it. I'm glad I didn't throw the seeds away.
Yeah. Right. Because I one year grew a squumpkin.
Oh, man.
It wasn't good. I was like, ooh, what's growing on this one? I'm like, oh, wait. Okay, this is why you don't save seeds whenever you plant pumpkins and squash and close.
Yeah.
But that's good to know, though, that info about
there's like 4 different species. I don't even know what the word is. Like the
I need your friend.
I know.
Tell me about this.
I tell her she's writing a book because our area is so different and specific to where we live in this region of Florida, Like the books that are for Florida, they'll separate it by like South Florida, Central Florida, and North Florida, but it's not spot on. We have like a local seed library group where people save seeds and then they bring them back in. So we're basically building in the community local seeds that are adapted to our climate. You know, people are saving
Oh,
seeds
how
from their
cool.
best stuff. And so that's what we share and continue. And so every year there's like different trials that people can do. Like if you have extra space in your garden this year, do you want to trial these seeds for us and see how well they work for our climate? So then we can add them to the library next year if they work, you know, like that kind of cool thing. And so she's always doing those trials, girl, with flowers, with vegetables, with all
Perfect.
kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So she has all the info on what does well in our area. And I tell you, everything she gave me and told me it's her faves was the bomb in my garden this
Perfect.
year.
So
Yeah.
your blue Hubbard, and I was just
Squash.
thinking about your 9-pound blue Hubbard squash.
Hmm.
How many carrot seeds would you have to plant to get that amount of orange vegetable?
Can you
You know?
imagine? Yeah, right?
See, that's the thing. It almost doesn't even seem worth it. I have a carrot bed this year.
Yeah.
I weeded my carrot bed.
Oh, it's not worth it.
It's not.
I hate
I just
carrots.
pull out a pumpkin that's going to be more food
Yep.
than that whole bed.
I hate carrots. Okay. It's my least favorite crop to grow.
Okay.
My
I
least
feel
favorite
the same way.
because they take so long. And remember, my soil holds a lot of water. So it's easily compacted. And because it needs to go all through the winter and spring for me, we get these bitty bitty carrots that are 3 inches long. And I'm just looking at the whole row like, seriously, I could have been planted a whole entire roll of kale. And you guys have been taking up this space in my
This
garden
entire time
for
to grow.
nothing. For nothing.
Yeah.
My daughter harvests them and she just eats them all in one sitting. Like it's nothing. Like she's outside and
Right.
she'll eat them all before you even come in. It's like, what's the point of this?
And how many hours did you weed that
You
bed?
know? Or making sure that they stay wet for like 3 weeks because you know it takes forever to germinate those little seeds. Oh,
Exactly.
Carrots
Yeah.
are the worst. No
I
thanks.
feel that way too, but I feel like a bad person for wanting to just scrap the whole idea.
I'd rather spend my energy on cool stuff, you know, either trying out new exotic seeds, colors of different things that I don't, you know?
Right. I can buy carrots, organic ones, really
Exactly.
cheap
Yep.
at the store.
Oh yeah, we have plenty of farmers here, you know, the CSAs and stuff that I can just get a huge bundle of all the fun colored carrots I want, but I'm not.
Right. That too. That's something I really started realizing this year. I'm like, I can just go to the farmer's market and buy in bulk all the
Yep.
things that I wish I'd grown.
Exactly. And then have
From
fun
them.
with the other stuff. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I feel like there's a million things. Like I'm looking through your Instagram and I'm like, ooh, bees, ooh, sourdough.
Yes. Oh my gosh, we're gonna harvest
Sewing.
honey again this Sunday on this weekend. We're gonna harvest some more honey. Yeah.
That's something we've just gotten started with, and I really need to do some more research because we have the hive out there. We checked it. It's looking full, so I know we have to do something.
Yeah.
But
put a super on top and give them more room. Like if you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought was the next step. So
yeah,
I know nothing beyond that though.
We just keep it. Yeah, it's hard. You know, beekeeping is like a thing that we've been wanting to do for a while. And then this year with COVID and all, we were just like, whatever. We had ordered the hives in January. They gave them to us in April. So we were like, this is perfect. You know, we pick them up, boom, let's try it. But they say you're typically harvest honey your first time, like the second year. So our experience has been crazy wild because less than 3 months, we harvested 6.5 gallons.
I was gonna say, I saw where you harvested like an insane amount.
Almost 80 pounds of honey in less than 3 months. Can you believe that? So,
no.
Yeah. So I wouldn't.
It's crazy.
It was just like, we'd check on them. It's like, well, they need room. Put another box. Every week, it was like a whole nother super. And then we like check on it. We're like, there's like 40 frames in here with like dry capped honey. Whoa.
Wow.
But this is a really good area for bees. You know, there's a lot of gardeners, a lot of people, because our soil is so rich too. Remember, it's not like the sandy Florida soil. So a lot of people in my area have gardens and you can grow all kinds of stuff. And there's bees buzzing everywhere.
Right. So they're just getting all kinds of good stuff all around.
Yep.
So did you have any certain thing that you read to learn about beekeeping or a course you took?
We did a couple of the online courses, like through our community. They do them like in the springtime, like a bee school or bee university or something like that. And which was webinars this time, you know? So my husband and I would watch that. And then we joined a couple local Facebook groups for the beekeeping and just kind of search through there and see what's going on. You know, you pick up little tidbits as other people are helping others. And then we had the inspector come out and he was telling us, you know, find yourself a beekeeping mentor, whatever. And then I remembered I had a fan who lives around the block who's like actually my neighbor. And we met because she had read my About Me and she was like, hey, I live in La Crosse too. And this town has like less than 300 people. So it was like, oh, you must be a neighbor. And so then we met her and her husband used to be bee inspector for the state. So he's our mentor and he's been a beekeeper for over 50 years. So whatever he tells me to do, I do.
Right. Hey, that is what you want to find. That is
Yeah.
exactly what you want to find.
And they don't have bees currently because a couple years ago we had a really bad Hurricane Irma, and they live closer to the river than we do, so all his bees got washed away.
Oh,
it all flooded, and
man.
all his beehives got washed away. So for him, it's a joy too, because he gets to, he loves bees, obsessed, and so it's like
right.
they're his. He's like, thank you for letting me play with them, like.
Yeah.
So we give them honey, and he's so
I'm
good
totally
with them.
gonna join a Missouri beekeeping group and see if I can
check it
learn
out,
some
see
stuff.
what you can find. Yeah, because it's all different. There's different seasons when it's kind of like you have to feed them more, whatever. It's like, it's not like textbook it's something that you have to read and adapt to your specific situation, which
area.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yay. Thank you so much. I'm like, oh man, okay, I will not keep any more of her time, but we could chat and chat forever.
For real. We got a lot in common, that's for sure.
Yes. So tell everyone the best place they can find you. I know we mentioned YouTube and Instagram and your blog.
Sure. Yep. So YouTube, you can find me under the channel name The Crafty Gemini, and then the main website is just craftygemini.com. And then everywhere else, Facebook and Instagram, I'm always under Crafty Gemini. Anything that says Crafty Gemini should be me.
That's you. Yeah. Yep. I actually searched on Instagram, and The Crafty Gemini is not, but Crafty Gemini.
That's right. Yeah, because when I created my YouTube channel 11 years ago, somebody had the name Crafty Gemini. Can you believe it? That's
crazy.
So mad because everything else was Crafty Gemini, and I'm like, I need that. But so I just did it, The Crafty Gemini. So YouTube is the only one that has the in front of it. But I own the trademark for Crafty Gemini, so anything like that.
Yes. I just did that last year too for mine. I'm like, yes,
good. I know, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome, Vanessa. Well, thank you so much for chatting and joining me on the podcast. I'm glad I could catch you on a kid-free night.
Yes, ma'am.
No interruptions. Awesome.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for having me, Lisa. This was
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. If you have not yet jumped on over to Instagram and YouTube to give Vanessa a follow, I know that you will be so inspired when you do. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode, and I will see you in episode 57 of the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast.